Welcome back, it's Bowman Shota with another esports update brought to you by Esports.Online. And today I'm going to be talking about a couple different topics. First off, talking about the mental stress players go through when actually having to deal with all the different things that they have to deal with. I mean, just think about it. So these people at the top level are competing for millions of dollars worth of prize pools. And they're 18 to 24-year-olds. So they're young, they're inexperienced, they got wide eyes seeing these large dollar amounts come flying at them, and they're being thrown at all these contracts and these sponsorship deals and these negotiations and these lawyers telling them one thing and their owners telling them another thing. And on top of that, they have to actually practice and compete on a professional level, let alone, they have to stream. And the pressure that they have at such a young age, it's something that Alex Fletcher, if you've been checking out Esports.Online, you've probably seen some of his articles that we've recently posted as a guest contributor. And him and I were talking about, on the live show we did the other night, about the time that these players have is very limited to pursue all these things. And Alex brought up the fact that, in traditional sports, you have agents who take care of any endorsement deals and contract negotiations, and they take care of a lot of these things because at the end of the day, the player needs to practice for their competition that they compete in. And if we look at the average esports player right now, they practice anywhere from 10 to 12 hours a day. Let alone they may have, if they have a bad contract that they negotiated, if they didn't consult a lawyer or consult anyone really, and they're like, oh, you're gonna pay me $9,000 a month? Sweet, I'll do whatever you want me to do. And then they're like, oh, you got to stream for 40 hours a week. Oh, you have to show up for autographs. You have to do these photo ops. You have to also have these meetings with a psychologist. And the pressure and the time constraints is part of the reason why we've been seeing the high retirement rate, or the low age for retirement, I should say, in these esports players, because the pressure just mounts to them. It gets to the point where they start sacrificing their practice time and trying to have more fun with that, and because they need to stream more, and it's one of those things where things get all jumbled up, and they're pulling 14 to 16 hour days, and they're exhausted and they get burnt out and they want to get out. It's something that it shouldn't be like that. And it's something that, eventually we will need agents. We will need organizations that take care of their people better. And not to say there aren't organizations that do take care of their people. There are great esports teams out there that do take pride in making their people as happy as possible and managing some of those things. I know Envious is a good one that comes to mind, to where I know the owners and his team really want to make sure their players are able to compete at their highest capability possible. And that's really good to see. So, and how this ties into our next topic is something that, Alex and I were talking about, is sponsorship deals and advertising deals, and more specifically, endorsement deals for those individual players. And it's something that, for these sponsors and advertisers, as they're trying to get into esports, it's a real challenge for them because, one, there's so many different games, there's so many different tournaments, there's so many different things that are happening in esports, and you never know what's going to be the next big thing. Everyone, wants Heroes of the Storm to be a big thing, but it's just really not taking off the way Blizzard wants it. Overwatch looks to be a big thing. I mean, it's an outstanding game, but from the competitive side, there's still a lot of controversy and disagreements as far as how the competitive mode should be played, because you got Blizzard saying one thing, you got tournaments like ESL saying we're going to do a different thing, and you got the pros divided on the issue as well. And so as money starts coming into the scene, because obviously esports is still a sponsor and advertising driven scene, and you have these non-endemic sponsors like Nike and like Adidas and non-traditional sponsors that want to get into it, and they want to get that ROI, and they're going to be looking for those thresholds for how much they can get back, whether it's through merchandising, whether it's through, clicks on their links and stuff like that. And with the advent of ad block and all that stuff, it's challenging for these people to get into it. And from the player's perspective, if they want to get an endorsement deal, like right now, there's some players that could easily get endorsement deals, and some do have endorsement deals, but for them to take the time to sit down and negotiate that out and have a lawyer and do all this and even seek out endorsements or even receive endorsements or shuffle through them all, because I'm sure they get tons already, because there are lots of companies that are looking to put money into esports. It's a big challenge. It definitely is a big challenge for these players to go after all these things without an agent, without a traditional basically that mediator to help filter through all of this stuff. So a roundabout way of saying all this is the news, with it being recently on a lot about the negative side, with the betting scandals and the skin betting scandals and the lawsuits and all this thing. And maybe, it's mainly just in Counter-Strike, but there are issues going on. I mean, even in EVO, for the an outstanding tournament that happened for EVO, to all of a sudden have a news article saying there's a sexual harassment issue going on from someone, one of the players, and he's losing all his sponsorship and stuff like that. Like, that's a big deal and a big red flag for future companies that are wanting to get into esports, that, at the end of the day, they're dealing with young, immature people who, most of them, don't have any formal training on how to handle this public pressure. And it's something where, and I'll put a link in the description to another video I did about mental toughness that kind of elaborates on this. But I did want to touch base on this a little bit in a shorter form, to just say that, we have to give these people a little bit of slack. But we also have to take the time for the people that are in the positions that have a little more responsibility to get these people some training, some PR training, some proper training, and obviously having a psychologist will help help alleviate some of that stresses. But you also need that professional who, is in that traditional sports sense, who can come in and say, hey, you're going to all of a sudden have 30,000 more Twitter followers, and they're all going to be assholes. And you're going to have to not respond to most of them. Or if you do respond in a positive manner that does not incriminate you. Like, we can't have any rape jokes being randomly said on your Twitter account anymore. Even though it was probably funny 4 years ago, probably not appropriate now that you've just exploded and people look up to you as a role model and as an idol, even though they probably shouldn't. But it's one of those things where it's going to happen. With fame, with celebrity status, with success in a public venue like esports, the individual player is going to have a lot of pressure put on them, and it's something that they're definitely going to have to work on, and they're going to be challenged to find that success with all these pressures added on. So that's kind of it for me today. Check out more great content on Esports.Online, and if you're in for a challenge, head over to esportshero.com and compete against your friends and see who's the better player at different games like Hearthstone and Counter-Strike and Overwatch. It's a lot of fun. It's easy, and you all have a great day.